decided to put together a John Maxwell-based program. I told you I was certified through the program. So I've done work with business people, entrepreneurs, and executive team on leadership development. And I decided that to put this curriculum together, it would be a pathway for the kids, and it starts with them. So the first one, so there are 3 different modules. Each module is 12 weeks long. Okay? It's on Saturday morning from 9 to 10:30. The first module is about finding themselves and developing their personal map, because one of the things that I get when I work with them is that they're trying to figure out, I'm worried about, like, I don't know what my major is, I don't know what I like. We talk about stuff like that in teens and leadership, like what you're good at may not be, or what you get good grades at may not be what you love. Does that make sense? But it's really just finding that about themselves, find their own song. And we're going to base it on this book, okay? Put Your Dream to the Test. It's a perfect book for youth, actually, and what I've done is I've modified the content so it fits their conversation. This is for the high school students. I'm going to talk about the middle school students in just a little bit. But it's about what's your reality, what's your passion, what's your path, who are in your circle, right? The inner circle, the people that you hang out with, and how they influence us. So it's the kind of stuff where it's every week there's a facilitated kind of questions that we go through. They're going to read a chapter. There's no homework. They're going to read a chapter, and we're going to do the work together, right? It's all hands-on. It's not about more homework, because who needs more homework, right? I don't. So it's about really working through together and discussions and peer discussion, which is powerful, because this is when the students discover that they're not alone, right? That can be very powerful when you know that there are other minds that think the way I do, and they want to do more, and they want to pop out of the box. So that's the kind of stuff that we do, and I ask a lot of questions that get them to explore themselves. And that's why not judging is so important in what we do. Because you should be able to say how you feel, right? As opposed to saying what is right or what is expected or accepted. So that's the first module. And then the second module has to do with your today determines your tomorrow. It's about your habits, about your attitude. It's about the challenges that you go through now. So we base it on the Today Matters book. The chapter is about 15 to 20 pages, so it's not like that big of a heavy load of reading. And from what I learned from the high school students, some of them are doing this class. What's the name of the book? Man's Search for Meaning. They love it because it's about introspective, about like standing tall when you've got all adversities coming at you. And they've spent a whole semester on that. But that's the kind of stuff that gets them thinking about now. Sometimes when I talk to the kids and it's about the communication challenges and things like that, it's actually, sometimes I talk to them and I go, do you know that you can actually change that, the dynamic of that? And it starts with you, not your brother, sister, cousin, parents. It starts with you. And they're like, oh, I can change that, right? How do I send my parents to class? No, it's not about sending your parents to class. It's about starting with you. It's never about somebody else, is it? Right? So that's what we do with establishing some habits and really set up their framework, right? And every student's going to be different. And then the last one, the third module, now you're ready to lead, right? Because we've been working on, you can't impact someone until you're growing and you have become that person of influence. And this is, if you're not familiar with this book, it's all over the world. The book is being used in corporations, in faith-based organizations, in government agencies, 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. Just curious, how many of you have heard of John Maxwell? Okay, good, good. So, his work is being, so when I do leadership development facilitation for companies or individuals, it's all based out of these books, and a lot of people have never heard of him because he doesn't really promote himself like that, okay? But it's powerful stuff, and if it's work for adults, can you imagine what it would do to the teens? Starting now. It's never too early to grow and develop, is it? Right? So that's the stuff that we're going to be doing. Also with that, there's creative thinking, self-resource. They're going to get a workbook, which is this workbook. You can peek at it later on if you'd like. I put in a few beginning chapters so you can see the kind of stuff that we would be doing together, and they would each get a workbook so that it gives them a direction. So it's not just reading. I mean, anybody can read. You don't need this, right? but what do you do with what you read, and how do you apply it with your life now, okay? Real life application, practical and personal project. When, at the end, what they get is this version of a certificate of completion from each module, and they can use that for their job application, right? College application. I've actually met with the superintendent of NVUSD and the director of curriculum, and they said, you know, these certificates make the kids stand out. Because everybody graduates, hopefully, right? But what do they show for? What have they done outside of I actually had a parent who contacted me and said, I want my child in your program because this whole thing is about leadership. And I want him to have something to say that he attended some kind of like certified leadership thing. So this is going to be a great tool for them as well. And leadership assessment. So at the end of each module, we're going to do an assessment. So it's going to be individualized to each one of the students, where I'm going to be assessing with them, and they're going to be assessed. Peer, you know, 360, have you heard of that? The whole peer is going to assess, but we do it in a constructive way. It's not about, you know, what a loser you are, but it's about how can you improve? What were the things that inspired me about you? What were the things that you said? You know, sometimes when you get the right mirror in front of you, it's amazing what you can see, isn't it? Right? So it's about that, okay? So that's the program for the high school. Now, why is this all so important now? You know, leadership development wasn't a big deal before, but now it's about distinction, it's about standing out, it's about why do you need to be different? Why? Because this is USA Today article in 2012. Half of new college graduates are jobless or unemployed because of the economy. How many of you knew this already? Have heard of this, right? So, I mean, that's kind of depressing, but here's the deal. We got to adapt to it, don't we? The kids have to adapt to it. This is not going to change in the next 3 or 4 years. The economy, right? And we can't push a different button. So, what are we going to do with the teens that are up and coming? They're going to go through college, they're going to graduate, and they're going to go, man, I can't get a job, right? But if we prepare them now so that they can be an out-of-the-box thinker, be a more effective communicator than the competition, hopefully, right? So they would get selected, they would get promoted, because they're doing above and beyond what's expected, the minimum. So that's the first piece. The other piece is, this is CNBC article in 2013. U.S. entrepreneurship reaches 14-year high. Because during the depths of the recession following the 2008 financial crisis, Americans who were frustrated with not being able to find work took the bold step of opening their own small businesses out of necessity. Not because they don't feel like working for someone, right? So this is the kind of stuff that ties into when I work with the kids. I always, and the kids that have worked with me know, I bring in real life applications, conversations, that kind of stuff, so that they're not surprised when they get out of school how the world really works, okay? So now, one of my favorite, you know, world changers, right? He's a leader. The late Steve Jobs says, you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing because it is so hard if you don't. Any rational person would give up. Because if you haven't found your grip, right? It's easier to say, well, it doesn't work, I'm going to quit. But if it's something that you really want to do, you have no choice but to get extraordinary at it, wouldn't you? You want to get good if it's something that you love. Can you tell I'm passionate about this? Yeah. Breaking my sweat here. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a little bit about the work that I did at Silverado Middle School. Now, I got to tell you, 2 years ago, working with the high school students was not on my radar. I was not like, ooh, I want to work with kids. Like, I have 2 kids, right? Middle school. I don't even have a high schooler, middle school and elementary school. But it was the path that led me to realize that, man, there is some serious work that I can make a difference here.